So, Spider-Man. This character really doesn't need an introduction at all. Arguably the most popular and most recognizable character from the Marvel roster of heroes. Spider-Man has been everywhere. TV shows, big budget films, countless merchandising, and also video games. Growing up, I really wasn't into Spider-Man as much as other kids my age. I vaguely remember watching the animated series that came on Fox Kids, and I also remember my parents taking me to see the Raimi movies in theaters, and I enjoyed those. But I still wasn't crazy over the character. It wasn't until Spider-Man Homecoming that really got me reinvested into the character, and later, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse became one of my favorite movies ever. In terms of video games, Spider-Man has a long history in this space, dating all the way back to the Atari days. My first exposure to Spider-Man in video games was Marvel vs. Capcom 1 in the arcade. He was definitely one of my favorite characters to pick due to how agile he was and how cool his special moves looked. I also remember playing Spider-Man 2, the movie tie-in game, and really enjoying that. One game I wish I had the opportunity to play was Shattered Dimensions for the PS3 and Xbox 360. I've always been curious about this game, so let me know down in the comments if this game is worth a look. Fast forward to 2018, we now have the latest game in the Spider-Man franchise, and boy was I looking forward to this one. First off, we had a trusted developer, Insomniac Games. You may know them for the series like Spyro the Dragon and Ratchet & Clank, but they also developed the underrated gem Sunset Overdrive for the Xbox One, so I knew this game was in great hands. As more gameplay was shown, I couldn't help but notice that the game shared a lot of similarities to the Batman Arkham series, and honestly, that's not a bad thing. Batman Arkham City is still considered the best superhero game of all time, and it had damn near flawless combat. So what about Spider-Man PS4? Was this game worth the hype? Let's get into it. The story for this game is not something out of the ordinary for a Spider-Man story. You follow Peter Parker as he attempts to balance his life as Spider-Man and working under Dr. Octavius, who is trying to perfect his breakthrough in neuroscience and prosthetics. During all of this, New York is facing danger from villains like Dr. Negative and his gang of demons, the Sinister Six, and also the threat of Devil's Breath, which is a substance that would turn New York upside down. Peter Parker is just a nice guy who wants to make something of himself, and also save his relationship with Mary Jane Watson, who works as a reporter for the Daily Bugle. I actually really like this version of Peter and found him very likable, and I have no complaints. I can't say the same for Mary Jane though. Something about her in this game just really annoyed me. She continuously put herself in dangerous situations and then complained when Peter tried to save her from being killed. I know Mary Jane takes her job seriously, but sometimes you just gotta chill. We are also introduced to Aunt May, who runs a homeless shelter alongside Martin Lee. Later on, we're introduced to Miles Morales, who loses his father to Mr. Negative at an Osborn rally. He later joins Aunt May to help out at the Feast Center. Now, I won't get too deep into the story due to spoilers, but overall the story is solid and I really couldn't find any glaring issues with it. If you're a fan of the Spider-Man comics and such, you'll enjoy this story, and for a casual fan like myself, I found it enjoyable as well. Now, moving on to the game itself. First off, this game is absolutely gorgeous. This is a beautiful recreation of New York City with most of the major landmarks intact, but also the action sequences in this game is very fun to watch, whether it's stopping crime from taking place, taking down one of the mini bosses, or just taking down demons with takedown moves. It all looks amazing. I noticed no slowdown while these sequences were happening, but my PS4 Pro is definitely working. This is one of the few games that causes my PS4 to sound like a plane taking off. Am I the only one? The combat in this game is pretty much what I expected, a faster paced Arkham City. Given all the things that Spider-Man could do, you have a lot to work with. Not only can you beat your enemies down with your fists, but you can also use all sorts of Spidey gadgets to help you. You unlock these as you progress through the story and upgrade Spider-Man. Everything from your typical web shooters to an impact web and even my favorite, the spider drones. You dodge enemies the same way you would in Arkham. Also, you can use these super cool looking finishing moves by pressing the triangle and circle button. You can also use things in the environment to attack your enemies, which I found was pretty cool. This game has a healthy amount of enemy variety that you have to approach in different ways. Some foes will have shields and weapons that you have to account for. You also have enemies who are brutes who take way more than regular punches and kicks to take down. Later in the game, you fight these high-tech soldiers who will definitely give you a run for your money. This game does a great job of requiring the player to switch up their fighting style, and it keeps the combat from being dull. There are also stealth sections in this game, and it works very well. You can also switch up the suits that Spider-Man can wear. Not only are these pretty cool cosmetic upgrades, but each suit has their own perks, so make sure you switch it up and see what suits you like the most. Spider-Man also has an upgrade system which requires you to level Spider-Man up to access. You gain experience by completing story and side missions. Speaking of side missions, there are also tons of collectibles to collect around New York. You have backpacks, cell towers, and even photos that you can take with your camera, so all of you going for that 100% completion, you have your work cut out for you. I recorded footage using a New Game Plus file, but I say I did have a very fun time 100%ing this title. Now, when you're not doing amazing things with Spider-Man, you're sneaking around with Mary Jane and Miles Morales on different stealth missions. Mary Jane typically has to avoid being seen while sneaking into some room to gather information for her investigation, while Miles takes a more high-tech approach and his section seems to have way more going on. Miles has the ability to hack different devices and cause distractions for him to reach his goal. You also play as Peter Parker during the story, but honestly these sections are normally used for plot progression and for these small puzzle sections. You can either line up the lines to create the perfect value or these line puzzles. When I first played this game, I found this to kind of break the pace, but honestly they're not that bad and the puzzles are skippable, so if you're having issues solving them, the game will keep things moving for you. Now this game is considered an open world adventure and the map of New York is a sizable map with tons to see. The traversal system in this game is so fun. You swing around the entire New York City as Spider-Man and what a feeling. There is fast travel in this game, but trust me, traveling around in this game is just way too fun. You're not going to want to use it. Not only can Spider-Man swing from building to building, he can also run up walls and reach super tall heights. One of my favorite things to do is run up to the tallest building and just take in the scope of the game. Simply amazing. Now the boss battles in this game are super epic. The way the camera pans at certain scenes and how destructive some of these battles can get always makes for a fun experience. My favorite boss fight had to be with Scorpion. Similar to the Scarecrow sections of Arkham Asylum, Spider-Man has to go through these very trippy sections and fight off his foes. I also really enjoyed the quick time events in the game. These are some of the most flashy cutscenes and it's pretty awesome. Overall, Spider-Man PS4 is a must-buy for the console. With the announcement of Miles Morales on the PS5, I'm sure many players will be looking to revisit this game or even play this for the first time ever. It's one of the best games you can play on the platform. Also, this game has a healthy amount of DLC, so if you want me to cover those stories in a separate video, let me know down in the comments section, and I will. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.